So Eis Gimel concludes the Teichen of the Maamar of the Alter Rebbe. So let's just briefly review it. The Shaila is to explain the Simcha of Shmini Atzeres, which is dafka through Torah. And that Shmini Atzeres, of course, is the Amshocha B'Pnimius of all of the Oides Makifim, the new transcendent revelations that began Rosh Hashanah. So the Alter Rebbe brought from the Haftarah of Shmini Atzeres, which describes the conclusion of the inauguration of the Beis HaMikdash, Harishon, that the 8th day on Shmini Atzeres was a 14-day celebration, started on the 8th of Tishrei. As I mentioned, that year they didn't fast Yom Kippur. They celebrated for 14 days. And on the 8th day, Shmini Atzeres, he blesses the people and the people bless him. So he explained, what's Vayevorcha es HaMelech? So who's the Melech? The Melech is the Melech Elyon. That's the Marei HaAdam, which is Ala Kisei, on the supernal throne. Kemari Adam, like the imagery of a man, because there's Ramach Ivarim, 248 limbs, which are the 248 mitzvahs. So the Melech equals mitzvahs. That's clear. The Ramach Ivarim, 248 limbs, mitzvahs HaMelech. That's the Ivarei HaMalka, the limbs of the king. They bless. That means it comes from a higher place. So what's the bracha? The bracha is, in the words of the Maamar, yes, Teisefes bracha v'shefa ma'eirin sof be'inyan ha'mitzvahs. So there's a hamshocha of the eirin sof in the mitzvahs through Torah. And he concludes, and that's the Simcha of Shmini Atzeres, and why it's called Simchas Torah. Then the Alter Rebbe states that and continues being masbir, which the Rebbe quotes. So the Alter Rebbe brings the Gemara in Moed Cotton that points out a contradiction, a stira. Yeah, we're giving a chazorah. What's the stira? Someone wants to tell me, please, the stira. What's the contradiction? Beginning of Eis Gimel, 2 psukim in Mishlei, one in Perek Gimel, and one in Perek Ches, and they contradict each other, and the Gemara reconciles the contradiction. What's the contradiction and what's the reconciliation? Someone? You're all frozen behind anonymous imagery or no imagery at all. No? Somebody save me. Are you with me? Are you even there, guys? I don't know if you're even there. Yeah, you're there. Okay. No. So one pasuk in Perek Gimel says, talking about the Torah, it's more precious than pearls. And then it says, and all of your possessions or all of your desirable things are not equal to it. The diak here is your desirable things. That's man's desirable things are not equal to Torah. But heaven's desirable objects, like mitzvahs, would be equal. That's the conclusion from the words, V'chol chafatzecha la'yishvuva. But then later, in Perek Ches, the pasuk says, Kol chafetzim la'yishva. Again, speaking about the value of Torah. it says that no desirable objects are comparable to it, including even heavenly things like mitzvahs. So the first pasuk implies an equality between Torah and mitzvahs. That Torah is only more precious than everything, h'tשכ, but not heftzei shamayim. And the second pasuk implies that there's absolutely nothing comparable to Torah, even heftzei shamayim, even heaven's possessions or heaven's desires, heaven's commandments. So the stir is clear. Okay, we need some feedback.
Yes. And I remember how it's reconciled.
I can't hear. I'm sorry. What?
Yes, the steer is clear, and I remember how it's reconciled.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, because you asked us.
No, I asked. No, I did ask you to repeat the Gemara. So now I'm doing it. Okay. So the Gemara, now you could tell me if you wish, please. I'd love to hear. How does the Gemara reconcile the contradiction?
If it's a mitzvah that only you can do, then the mitzvah is more valuable than Torah. But if someone else can do it, then learning the Torah, you should be learning the Torah and let the other person do the mitzvah.
Yeah, that's the Gemara's answer. In the words of the Gemara, the mitzvah, the efshel asayis al dei acherim, then Torah takes precedence. Torah is greater. Don't do it. But if it's a mitzvah that if you don't do it, nobody will, then put aside Torah and do the mitzvah. So this tension will be explained. The Alter Rebbe continues to explain. Help me here. And in the Alter Rebbe's words, it's most unusual in the way it describes the mile of Torah over mitzvahs. Let's get the geography straight. What does it say mitzvahs are? Second line on page. You have different page numbers than me, but it's the second line when you turn the page. What are mitzvahs? Let's identify the geographical level. It is what? You see it there? Second line, second word. You can just say it. Huh? No, second line. You don't have second. Show me your thing. No, second line. Second line on the page. Mamish. Second word. Nihid the Meitzel. Nihid Netzach Hoid Yisoid. Mitzvah. The Meitzel is the emanator. The Meitzel is the Eibishter, for our purposes, the source from which Atzilus and Ishtalshalus then proceeds. So, what are mitzvahs? Mitzvahs are God's communication to us. What's He revealing to us? Netzach Hoid Yisoid. Mitzvahs are about behavior, things to do. That's Netzach Hoid Yisoid are all faculties that engage the world around us. Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferes also, as we see within a person, they're a statement about the person. What kind of person? What kind of personality? Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. That's a Chod Yesod, is not personality. These are means by which we effect Netzach, overcoming challenges, and Hoid, humility, Yesod, bonding. They're all about engagement. Mitzvahs are all about engaging the world. That's what mitzvahs are. Okay, simple, clear. Mitzvahs, Netzach, are the expression of the Eibishter's Netzach, Hoid, and Yesod. What's the Torah the expression of? Next few words. The Chabad. So what's higher? Chochmah bin das, obviously, is higher. This is Hashem's mind, the divine mind. So Torah is higher. As the Maimah goes on to explain, so Hashem, the mitzvah says, make a sukkah. I want you to have a sukkah. Yeah, but how do you make the sukkah? What is a sukkah? That's what Torah tells us. So Torah controls mitzvahs, tithe and mitzvahs. It determines how the mitzvah is to be performed. In the words of the Maimah, Muvan, Shebchinas, we're like 5 lines down. HaChochma shel Bala Chochma. It's understood that the wisdom within the person who is wise, the Bala Chochma, that's much greater than that which he issues, the instructions that he issues. Much greater than that which he's addressing. He's addressing the sukkah. How do you make the sukkah like this? So that's obviously a higher level. We're talking about within the mind of the author. That's what Torah is. And mitzvahs are the bottom line instructions. It has to be carried out. Determined by what? By Torah. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe concludes, for us not really satisfactory, because we don't really understand the answer yet. The Rebbe is going to explain it. But the Rebbe's conclusion is, and therefore, when the mitzvah can be done by others, then don't do the mitzvah, learn about that mitzvah the way it is in Torah, it's higher. You're connecting to that very mitzvah on a much higher level, not the practicality of it, but the academic dimension, the divine academic dimension, the idea of the mitzvah. To make it in simple language, Torah is the idea of the mitzvah, and the mitzvah is the practicality of the mitzvah. So what's higher? The concept?
Isn't practicality when you're actually doing the mitzvah? You have the knowledge on what it
Yes,
means.
so obviously there's a mild and practicality,
Execution is more important
but
than
what is higher? How do I get to know you more? Where do I get to know you? Where am I connecting to you deeper? When I get into your mind, or I hear your practical when I see what you do. Seeing what you're doing, you put on a wrapped tefillin, boxes. When I get into your mind, I understand what that is all about and the meaning. Then I've connected to you, to what you're doing, I'm connecting deeper even. That's the mile of Torah. They don't speak the mile of mitzvahs, which is obviously you're not changing the world if you're not doing it. That's the obvious point. To change the world, you got to get down there to do it. Which is why if no one's going to do it, then for God's sakes, do it. But if it's going to be done, as far as your connection, it's much deeper if you learn about that mitzvah, Torah. So if the world is not going to be, so far, I don't want to put more words in it because that is going to explain it. But if the world's not going to be lacking, the world's going to be fixed by someone, fine, let them do it. You remain close, intimately bound up with Hashem's mind. Torah. But if no one's going to do it, you got to forsake that and get down there and do it because the world's going to be missing. So far, that's the explanation. It's like Shabbos in the weekday. The same similar thing. Shabbos is higher than the weekday. But the kavan is dir b'tachtonim, so you can't remain in Shabbos forever. But when you can, you must be. And we ought to strive for Shabbos, which is why every day, Ayom Yom Rishon l'Shabbat, he really wants, it's a rotzoi in Shuv. The Yid has to want to be in a matzav of a rotzoi. The kavan elyoina is, it's got to be Shuv. But if the Shuv's going to be done, then you stay with your rotzoi, you stay with your attachment to the Eibishter. I mean, I don't want to put too many words here because that's what the Rebbe is going to explain. Did we start Eis Daled yet?
I don't think so.
Did we?
No.
Okay, we didn't. No. So the Atkan is Teichen HaMaimer. Can you hear? You can sit over here for the same price. Huh? You don't want to get so close. Okay. Also, what comes out is notwithstanding, after explaining the great haflah means wondrous, maila, of Torah over mitzvahs, Torah is the Baal HaChochma, the divine mind, to the extent that there's no comparison between the wisdom of Torah and the mitzvahs that it defines. Just like the same gulf between the source, the emanator, and Atzilus. V'hainu, he wants to bring out how great the gulf is between Torah and mitzvahs. Torah is bound up with the source, and mitzvahs with the object, with the world. We're not just talking about, sometimes we have relative infinite gulfs between Nivroim. For example, Atzilus and Bria. That's also like a radical and incomparable state. We're not talking that. Here we're talking Atzilus and the Maitzel. Elikus and Welt. Mitzvahs are about Welt and Torah is Elikus. So it's not like the Ein Aroich of Nivroim Gufa, and in brackets he explains, as explained, Sha'afal in the Ein Aroich ben Amaitzel and Etzel, even though Taka true, the true, infinite, inseparable, unbreachable gulf is between the Maitzel, the source, and creation, that's Zalim. That's the emes of Bein Aroich. Even in Ivroim, there can be a bittul, a complete sense of insignificance of one level compared to the other, such that it's, relatively speaking, ein aroich, again, like Bria to Atzilus. But it's not that. Elo, the difference between Torah and mitzvahs is not like Atzilus and Bria, but rather, ein aroich shebein ha'maitzel and Atzolim. So that's on the one hand. So Torah, again, to just make it, with the risk of oversimplifying it, Torah is about Elikus, Eibishter, and mitzvahs is about the world. Bein Aroich, Maitzel, Netzalim. Nonetheless, in Lachare Kol Zeh, yet we just saw, after all of this, Messiah Admo Zaken, the Alter Rebbe concludes, based on the Gemara in Meit Cotton, Shebe she efshel asoisel yedei achedim. If a mitzvah cannot be done by others, doichim talmud Torah b'shvil l'kayim a mitzvah. We put Torah aside, we do the mitzvah. So what are we left with? Kishkishem shebektzei ha'echad, on the one hand, one extreme, God lo mailis ha'Torah l'gabe ha'mitzvahs. Torah is far greater, meaning, and therefore, mitzvah she'efshel asoisel yedei achedim. If someone's going to do it, Omer Chazal, on this, the Razal, the Mishlei, says, as the Gemara explains it, all desirable things, even Cheftzei Shemayim, are incomparable if that mitzvah will be done by someone else. Don't do it. Learn. Connect to the Eibishter on a much higher level. That's on the one hand. On the other extreme, on the other hand, if the mitzvah will not be done, you've got to do it. So we really are not satisfactorily answered. Well, it's higher here, but it's higher there. What's the Hazeh? So we're going to continue. V'yesh lo hosef, the Rebbe adds as follows: Sho'iloi dekiyah ma mitzvahs. The Rebbe stressing, of course, the mile of mitzvahs. Dira b'tachtonim. We could say, and this is true, mitzad you and your connection to it is higher. Mitzad the kavana elyoina, mitzvahs are higher. It's about dira b'tachtonim. But your experience, Torah is higher. The kavana elyoina mitzvahs is higher, which means be'etzem mitzvahs are higher. Not experientially, because I'm busy with tzedakah and helping people and visiting the sick. I'm not inspired. I'm not in the world of ruchnius. But etzem, you're connected deeper. Mitzad giluyim Torah is higher. Mitzad the etzem mitzvahs are higher. Mitzvahs is the rotzen elyon, and Torah is chochmah. But the rotzen elyon is manifest in the extreme ma'aseh. That's Bechlal what it says in Chassidus. We're not going to learn anything different here for sure, but there will be nuance and new insight to be discovered. So v'yesh lahosif, sha'ili dekim mitzvahs ma'ases b'yachas limdat Torah mudgish gam b'Yerushalmi. Moirdik thing that the mila of mitzvahs ma'ases are also stressed in the same Yerushalmi on this Gemara that brings us this same stira, but that's a different answer. He's going to explain. It's Yerushalmi in Peya, not in Meit Cotton. So Gam Yerushalmi metaret tzastirish ben apsukim. Yerushalmi also addresses the contradiction between the psukim. On the one hand, it says kol chafotzecho yishvuva. Only your chafetzim, your objects. Also means chafetz means desirable, because things you have because you want them, right? That's on the one hand. That's Perek Gimel. Perek Ches says v'chol chafetzim liyishvuva. There's nothing comparable to it, even mitzvahs. And the Bavli answered, what answer did we learn in Bavli? Kan be mitzvah she'ef shel asay achedim. Kan be mitzvah she'ef shel asay achedim. That was the Bavli, right? Yeah, without repeating that. Ella, what does the Rishalmi answer? Shekosuv echot koi bavonim tevis margolius. When it says kol chafatzecha, it means precious stones. Precious stones are not comparable to Torah. That's in what? Perek Gimel. Perek Ches. When it says kol hachafetzim al yishvuva, that's referring to b'mitzvahs HaTorah. And then mitzvahs. And the Rishalmi does not go into the distinction between a mitzvah that can be done by others or not. Outright. All mitzvahs. Even ones that can't be done by anybody. The Nimtza comes out. Yeah, we clear? I mean, Tzorech Iyun, what's the Chiddush? The precious Avonim Tevis and Margolius don't compare to Torah. And not only that, mitzvahs don't compare. So it means even Avonim Tevis and Margolius also means Baruch Nis. Also Baruch Nis Deki in Yonim. But at any rate, the Rishalmi doesn't distinguish between mitzvah she'efshe and la'aseiso lo yefshe. All mitzvahs, Torah is higher. Kamardo. V'nimsa she'das Rishalmi comes out according to the Rishalmi she'kol ha'mitzvah la'ish v'neged b'chines ha'Torah comes out according to the Rishalmi that Torah is higher than all mitzvahs. Okay, this is Rishalmi sham le'el minei. Like the Rishalmi says before, made a dicker thing. In the same Gemara there in Peya, shafilu kol mitzvah shel Torah. Listen to this: all Tariag mitzvahs, ein on Shabbos ledover echad min haTorah, are not comparable to one teaching, one thing of Torah. Now, how did this ois begin? That yesh lo ha'isif, that the Maila of Moishe is brought out more in Yerushalmi. So far, we're seeing the opposite. The Rishalmi says that Torah, all mitzvahs, kol Tariag mitzvahs don't compare to one inyan in Torah. This is Elikus, and this is Soiviv, and this is Mamad. Bli gvul gvul. Continuing, Binyan Bazek, Yedua. Now, why does the Rishalmi extol so far the mile of Torah? The Bavli clearly said they put Torah aside if the mitzvah can't be done by somebody else. The Rishalmi says no, doesn't even entertain that. Why? So first they're going to explain that, and the end's going to be, and then look what the Rishalmi says. There'll be another, the mile of Moishe. That's at the end. For Inyan Bazek Yidua Shetalmud Yerushalmi Enik Talmud Bavli. That Yerushalmi is unlike Bavli. All of Omru about the Bavli. The Gemara says it's a posik in Eicha, B'machashakim ha'shivani, you place me in darkness. Says the Gemara, Zeh Talmud Shel Bavel. Because in order to lefi, she'eini b'derech, Talmud Shel Bavel is, how do we arrive at any conclusion? It's a whole process of kashis and stidis, choshech, till we get to the oir. That's not Bav Yerushalmi. Lefi she'eini b'derech shel pilpul b'roiv kushis v'tirutzim. But Yerushalmi is much smaller. Yerushalmi, the whole Yerushalmi is this big, and Bavli is this. Why? Yerushalmi is straight to the point. Kashis tirutzim, it's oir. Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalmi, lichtik. Kiyim rak miyuta de miyuta. There's very little kashis and tirutzim. El ba'ofen shel oir yasher. The light shines. Bavli is oir chayzer. It's in hell and v'hester. We got to discover it and reveal it. But Yerushalmi is chatchila oir yasher. Milamaylo lamata. Al derech lechem min hashamayim. Like the manna that comes directly from heaven. As opposed to lechem in the oretz, it's a whole avodah to reveal it from the earth, and it's laborious, and it's through this bezeyas hapecha teichel lechem. That's how we eat earthly bread. That's bavli. It's a tremendous yigia till we come to a maskana. Yerushalmi, it's clear. It explains in the Bittul Rebbe. Now, since the whole Yerushalmi is what? Elikus, Eriyosher, Milamayla Lamata. So of course, what does it bring out the Maila of Torah, of a mitzvah? Because that's what Yerushalmi is. Elikus, Getlachkeit, the Baal HaChochma. Lachem, but Geshes Boy, Mailis HaTorah. Therefore, the Yerushalmi stresses the Maila of Torah. Sheklolus in Yona, what's Torah? Giloy Oir Milamaylamat. Hashem reveals His wisdom to us. Lagabe mitzvahs, over mitzvahs. What's mitzvahs? It's us engaging the world and elevating it. Sheklolus in Yonam hu birra oilam milamata lamayla. That's what mitzvahs are. Therefore, the Yerushalmi brings out Yoseh, the mile of Torah, more Hashem Yibavli. We'll stop here. Omnom. Okay, we'll go to the next statement. What?
Can I ask a question? When we refer to these two ideas that Torah is higher than mitzvah, that means to say that according to the idea of Torah mitzvah that you're learning, because the Torah is just basically full of explanation. The Torah itself is full of explanation of mitzvah. That's what it is. I mean, if you remove the mitzvah aspect of the Torah, you don't have very much left, right? So that means the learning of the mitzvah is higher than the. I mean, we would still be learning about the mitzvah. That's what
Because the learning of the mitzvah, simple level. The mitzvah is do this, this, and that. Why? What is it? Torah reveals that. It's the pnimius of the mitzvah.
But if you stay in the Torah world, you're still learning about mitzvah, but you're not doing it. That's what you're saying.
We're learning, yeah. But there's also dimensions of Torah which are not mitzvahs too, mind you.
Right, but I'm saying.
But he's saying even the Torah dimension of the mitzvah is higher.
But what does that mean if you're not doing it?
As I said, if I want to know you and connect to you, where's the deepest way? Get into your head, I get to know you. See the things that you're doing, we share a common behavior. So the connection to the Eibishter, on this level, in terms of Giluyim, the experience, as we said before, Be'etzem mitzvahs are higher. Because that's where the Atzmus, the Kavana is. But not experientially.
No, but I'm thinking the people under the shot here is if I have time.
You have to come closer.
If I have time.
Sit.
The light there, it's like. If I have time, yeah.
If you have time and the world is not going to be lacking its birur, then you connect to the Eibishter. You sit in Beis Medrash and learn.
So
every spare moment, you look into the Sefer.
I could be in a world where there's no mitzvah, theoretically.
How could you be in a world where there's no mitzvahs?
Because I'm saying, in theory, I can be just learning, like Rabbi Shema Yochai. That's what I'm saying. Like, it could happen. So I'm saying, what I'm trying to understand is
If there's a Yid out there, I mean, if you want to take this to the bigger picture, if there's a Jew out there that needs to be touched, you got to go. You met him, no one else is going to. This is the moment, it's now, you got to do it. But in theory, yes, that's the place. It means even the Shliach and Shlichus out there, but in the moments that he has spare, he should be running to the Sefer. Okay, we'll continue this tomorrow. I want to start this. We haven't done a story in ages.
I'll tell you
What?
What went through my mind was the time of the Malachim Tanot Chal HaShamayim.
It's kind of similar. Okay. Well, we shall reserve our conclusion till the end of the Maimer.
Right.
But we certainly can certainly understand mitzad giluyim and experience. What's higher, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or Cheshvan? What did we learn the previous Maimer? In terms of your experience and inspiration, it's incomparable. So the kavanah pnimius, it's there b'tachtonim. So be'etzem, this is giluyim and this is etzem.